What is up, everybody? Welcome on in to Pro Wrestling Weekly right here on the Takedown on SI on YouTube. Hello. I'm Zach Haydorn. That's Blake Lovell. Blake, dude, John Cena is retiring in like a few days. Holy crap.
Is he? I haven't heard about John Cena much this week. No,
You know what
look,
he should do? He should do like a couple interviews, I think.
He should.
He should do some media around this.
I think he should, do a few interviews, maybe some people get some articles out of it.
Yeah.
We'll see. But no, in all honesty, I mean, it's rightfully so. I mean, again, he should be the talk of this week, obviously, even beyond WWE. I mean, not surprised to see the tributes out there from everyone else, the nod from Samoa Joe and just all those kind of things. Like, it should be that kind of week for a guy like this that has made the impact he's made. And, that's only going to continue beyond Saturday. I mean, this will, be a big talking point heading into next week. And, we've got plenty of stuff to take down on SI to kind of talk about, best of his career and all that kind of stuff too. So this is kind of just the beginning, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it is in a lot of ways, and I don't know. There's parts of me where like I'm watching Raw or SmackDown or whatever, or even just scrolling through social media like the last couple of days, and I'm like, oh man, WWE's really laying this on thick. Like, is it going to be obnoxious by the time the actual match happens? And then I'm kind of like, at the same time, I'm like, all right, if there's one person that or there's like 5 people in WWE history that you should really like go all out like this for. Like Chris Jericho is not going to have a retirement like this. Even if he has a retirement story, it's not going to be like this. AJ Styles, same thing. There literally is like 5 people that I think deserve this kind of fanfare. So I haven't been as, I haven't rolled my eyes as much as necessarily I would think I would, or maybe I would for others if it would be them getting this type of treatment. But if you can't give it to this guy, like who can give it to?
Well, and that's the thing, and I think that's what such a difference now is. I mean, think about how many years we're just like, all right, who's the greatest of all time? Mount Rushmores and all this other stuff. But like They have publicly declared on their show from their main guy, like this is the greatest of all time. And whether you believe that or not, it's certainly an arguable debate. You're going to push him that way. And so if this is what you're doing as a company is saying, hey, he is the best we've ever had, then you better, kind of go all out and do it that way. Because otherwise, like, what's the point? And so I think it's probably, again, not a big surprise just because whether they want to admit it or not, I think they're well aware of some of the criticism this year when it comes to just, the way this whole thing played out. The other day yesterday, I'm writing our heel turn of the year award for the Takedown on SI's yearly awards. And I won't give away, the winner, but I will tell you that it wasn't John Cena. And I feel like one of the reasons, as I'm writing this, I'm like, well, I kind of have to make this section really talk a lot about Cena because people are going to be like, well, hang on, there was no other heel turn that even came close. But my kind of argument was that, hey, it's not just what you do in the moment, it's what you do in the lead up and afterwards that makes a heel turn the best. And, so we did, as a vote, win another direction. But I mean, I think that's just kind of the thought, though, this year is that there have been so many ups the latter half of the year. There have been plenty of downs before we got there. And I think it's like, you got to get this right. And it's not hard to do. And I think they will. I think they'll hit a home run with it on Saturday. But I can understand why they're going to these lengths for sure.
Yeah, I want to get into like a couple angles. We're going to spend the whole show, guys, talking about John Cena because it's that week and there's a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, there really is. And it's not to say that there's not other stuff going on in pro wrestling. There certainly is. Continental Classic, AEW, Raw, all this stuff. But I mean, Cena's like him retiring is a big deal. And they've put so much oomph into it. I think there's a lot of different ways that I want to attack this. Question for you in a second, Blake. But let's set the table here. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly. This is our live show on the Takedown on SI YouTube channel. We're live with the show every single Thursday afternoon, 12 Eastern, right here. Thank you all for being here. If you're catching us on YouTube, hello. If you're in the live chat, thanks, and appreciate you being here. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel so you don't miss when we go live. We've got this show once a week. We've got Takedown Discussions that drops. We have a host of different interviews with top talent from AEW and WWE that hit the channel all throughout the week. So make sure you are subscribed. That way you don't miss anything. And that way you always know when something new hits. If you're watching the video right now, thank you. And if you could hit the like button, hit the little thumbs up, that'd be much appreciated too, because that's how we meet new people. That's how we get some more eyes. That's how YouTube recommends us. So thank you in advance for that. If you're willing to hit that like button, we certainly appreciate it. I do have the live chat open, so get on in there, mix it up. If you want us to get to a question or a comment, or you want to rant about something, drop it in there too. If you want to make sure that we get it on the air, leave it in a super chat. Throw us a couple dollars in the tip jar. We appreciate that, and we'll make sure to get to all questions, comments, and rants and raves that hit the super chat. But those are open as well. So thank you in advance for that. Right now, on the Takedown on SI regarding John Cena, we have a top matches of his career column. I wrote that. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We also have a top feuds column that SP3 did. That's up there as well. And more to come in the next couple of days here. So if you want to reminisce or read about John Cena's career, the Takedown on SI, that's the place to do it, where we got all sorts of cool stuff dropping here in the next 24 to 48 hours ahead of Saturday night's main event. All right, so we're going to go down memory lane here in a little bit, Blake, but I think first I want to talk about the retirement tour. So John Cena stands in the ring at SummerSlam 2024 and announces that 2025 is going to be his last year, and starts 2025 with the Royal Rumble. He loses. After that, you start seeing the heel turns forecasted a little bit. He's kind of a jerk in the press conference. Elimination Chamber happens. He turns heel, and then we know how the rest of this goes. How do you all in, taking into account the full retirement tour, heel turn, Cody matches, nostalgia, Punk and Cena, everything. How do you grade WWE on the execution of this?
Whew, that is a loaded question. All right, I'll start maybe at the end, which is maybe not the best place to start, but I think I will start there because I think they eventually got it right, and that is what's most important. I think they eventually turned it in the direction it needed to go in, and even though at the time you're thinking, well, they didn't really give us much of an explanation, I'm okay with that because it was time for just a hard reset, and I can at least appreciate that. I don't necessarily need everything to have some convoluted story to get us from point A to point B. If you know that you have to get to point B because the path to get there is just not working, just go ahead and fast forward, get me there, and let's change course here. So I can appreciate that they did it that way. But I also, like I said a minute ago, I also think you can absolutely look back and think about the missed opportunity of having, for many people, the most shocking moments inside a WWE ring, to have him turn heel the way that he did at Elimination Chamber, The Rock's there, all that. But I think if you look at that beyond Elimination Chamber to, I guess up until probably Night of Champions, I feel like Night of Champions is where things started to turn a little bit, where you could see the direction they were trying to get to. But that's a 4-month gap there. Pretty much almost 4-month gap of stuff that I just simply had no interest in. And it wasn't that, hey, it's the novel concept of John Cena finally turning heel. It was just the way they were doing it, right? The promos, it looked like someone playing a character. And
you didn't buy it.
No, you didn't buy anything.
You didn't buy it.
And that was the problem, is and I think you're in a tough spot. You needed him to win number 17, But what I would have done differently, I still think that was the biggest story. Does he win number 17? In their eyes, it wasn't as big because title reigns are title reigns, right? But my whole thing would have been if there's something, if there are two things you could have done significantly different. The heel turn execution is number one, easily. Number two is hold off the title win much further down the road, because that story, I feel like, did not get the mileage that you could have gotten out of it, right? But you kind of had to, and I understand when you decided to do, and this is where, Zach, think about this. This was never the plan, okay? But on a whim, when you decide you want to create the shocking moment for Elimination Chamber,
I know where you're going.
like, it completely changes the whole path of like what you're about to do next. And because they did it, you had to have him beat Cody at WrestleMania. You no longer had a choice. So like you put yourself in a spot where like you can't get out of. And so even if the initial plan was to have him beat Cody at WrestleMania 41, babyface versus babyface, whatever, you got stuck by doing what you did at Elimination Chamber. And they'll make all the YouTube money off of it, and it'll be brought up for years and years to come. But I think that is where such an important moment that you let slip away. And I also think adversely, like it forced you down a path by having him win the title so early. You got none of that dramatic effect the rest of the year that I think you could have built up. You could have had the same type of matches. You could have had the same interactions with all these people. But still in your head, you're thinking, is he ever going to get his way to number 17? And that was answered very early in the year.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you on all that. Like I would, if I were going to letter grade this, I would letter grade it a C minus. And that's taking into account the failure of the early part and what I think they've aced, here the last 2 months. And so I think somewhere that nets out around C minus C.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me looking back. It's crazy that they did this heel turn. I mean, John Cena at his last WrestleMania, he was a bad guy. And like the worst part about that was like, he wasn't really. Like if you were watching that show and you were at the building or whatever, like he wasn't. Like, it was like he just wasn't. People wanted to see him win the 17th time, even though it wasn't for Cody, right? And I just think that that's a huge missed opportunity of like, man, John Cena in his final WrestleMania, like against Cody Rhodes, like if there's ever a time for like a babyface versus babyface matchup, like that's it, because that writes itself. Cena won 17, Cody's got the belt, okay, boom. And then after, you can even if and I agree with you, you pulled the trigger too early, but even if you decide, okay, we still want to put the title on him at WrestleMania, well, then you still have a babyface versus babyface rematch that you can do. And it's Cody wants the shot, and John Cena is a good guy and a fighting champion. So he's going to give, Cody a rematch. Like it all was right there for you. And so I think what's disappointing is like, you didn't get like WWE fans didn't get that kind of epic WrestleMania send off, or, SummerSlam kind of, because that's kind of when he turned babyface again. But like, you kind of just had this gap early on of like, well, this kind of sucks. Like nobody wants to do this. Nobody wants to play the game here and boo John Cena. And I think that was like palpable whenever you watched it. It just is like, this is not real. I don't buy this. And what are we doing here? I want to cheer this guy. And I just think you missed on that. Now, fast forward, I totally agree with you that you just got to pull the plug. Like sometimes it's just not working and you just got to pull the plug so that you can quickly get it to a place that might work a heck of a lot better. And it made no sense. I mean, dude, when Cody's beating down Cena in the ring and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, you beat sense into me. It's like, oh man, it's not great. And I think WWE deserves criticism for like how bad of an angle that was. But at the same time, and both things can be true. It can be a bad angle, but the right angle at the exact same time. And I think that's what that was. It was just like, we got to get this thing to a better place. This is what we're doing, and then we're just going to go. And that worked for them in this situation. And then the reason it worked is because fans just wanted to cheer Cena. Like, that's it. They wanted to cheer him on this last run. And WWE said, you know what? Here, go do that. And I think from that moment on, they've done a really nice job. Like, just capitalizing and emphasizing what everybody likes about John Cena so much. I think they've been able to capture that here in the last 2 months, and they totally missed that early on.
Yeah, I think to me, like in the latter part of the year, well, it's SummerSlam, I guess. Like the only misstep I feel like they've had is the Brock match, and
Yeah,
I feel like everything else has kind of been like, hey, this is what I wanted all along. Like,
right.
just this. I mean, I poked some holes in the theory of having a second Dominic match, but I understand why they did it. You kind of didn't have a choice in terms of getting the title on him than having him lose it back, because like we said last week, it just didn't make any sense for him to have the title going into this match in his final one on Saturday. And so I kind of get all that. But yeah, like it is just such kind of a mind-blowing thing to think about now in hindsight, which is always 2020. It's what would have had the bigger impact? Cena turning on Cody or Cody turning on Cena in February? And if I think about it just from like a long-term play, I don't think there's any other answer to that question except for Cody turning on Cena. Because then you at least could have rode that and had a more compelling story, I think, at the time. The timing wasn't right for Cody yet to do that, even with all the pushback and all year long. It's like, hey, it's going to happen. And I've just said time and time again, it's not going to happen because Cody's their guy and they are not doing this just yet. But like, if you really think about it, if you were going to pull out some kind of shocking moment, that probably would have given you more long-term fuel than this ever did, right? Because this was, again, something where they were all in, and then they realized that everybody else was all out on it. And knowing that you only get one shot at this, that's the disappointing part, and why I forgot to give you a grade earlier. I'd give it around a C, probably. Like, this was the only chance you had to get this right. And you also had almost half a year last year to be setting this up.
Right.
That's the thing. He announced it in July. Like, you basically had almost, a quarter to half a year to set this up. And what I would love to know, and we may never know the answer to this, if that call isn't made to The Rock in February about we need a moment, like if we need a moment for Elimination Chamber, if that call is never made, how drastic of a difference would there have been? Like, what was the initial idea? What was the plan? And I know that it's been bantered about and rumored and all this, but like, I'm not sold on any of it. Like, if you were not going to make that play at Elimination Chamber, which now, again, you look back, it was just a complete waste of anything. I'm just like, how different could this thing have gone? And the one thing I'm always going to think about, and this is the problem and why you can't grade this, I think, much higher, I'm always going to think about John Cena winning the whole story of him getting number 17 and how big that was, the thought of that, how great that moment's going to be. And it comes with the help of Travis Scott. Like, that is going to be your trivia question all time for the rest of time. Who helped John Cena win his record-breaking 17th World Championship in WWE? Travis Scott. Like, that to me is the biggest possible swing and miss you could have on anything, anywhere.
So true.
It's just, it's brutal, man. So
it's brutal. It is. We got Adam in the chat here talking about The Rock and said, The Rock really effed this up. Adam also says here, too many cooks in the kitchen setting this year-long saga up. Yeah, like it just felt, I mean, I agree with Adam on that. It just felt like, there's just a little, like this person wants their hands on it, and then Rock wants his hands on it, and then they need a moment, and they're doing this thing. So, I mean, I John Cena in this week has gone out of his way multiple times to be like, it wasn't me. Like I just am doing what I'm told, you know? And I don't know that I fully buy that. I mean, certainly, you know, they asked him, you know, here, what do you think you want to do and who do you want to work with? So like I don't buy the complete hands-off nature of it, but I can understand him being like, you know what, like yeah, I'm not going to throw the Rock under the bus. So what do you say when the move is probably to throw the Rock under the bus?
Yeah. Yeah. Like you didn't have a choice, right? Like
you didn't have a choice.
I just think that's where this whole thing, you know, again, and it's just wild to think about how we've gotten here. And like I said, congrats on getting it right. But man, I think about that from, I mean, really, it was the first Raw he was on. Like you just watched the first one, and we're all like, "Is this gonna be?
This
is gonna be the way it goes?" Uh-oh. Like that's a great moment 2 weeks ago, but now I'm officially scared because if this is where we're headed for a while, yikes. You know, the crowd reactions were great and all this other stuff, but like again, like I always think back of and you know, wrestling's not, I think, made to be these things that you just go back and watch time and time again. They are made like, hey, like single viewing, the next thing is the next episodic thing and you go forward. But like there is zero part of me that ever wants to go back and watch the Raw from March the 17th, the 24th, 30th. No. There is nothing that would ever make me want to go back and watch those because of just how bad I thought the material and just the approach they took was. But then, like, I think about, like, Backlash. It's like, this is the final Cena Orton match. I just remember thinking, this is the most bland... And maybe that was the point, because it's Cena and Orton. And, you know, everybody's thought that about their rivalry at times.
If you wanted to do a callback to their feuds and their matches, bland what you do.
I just remember, like, I'm just like, this is it? Like, this is how it goes? Like, Cena and Orton at Backlash, like, just a complete... It just was... And that's the... Like, that was another part, I think, the problem. Once you put the title on Cena... This is why I contended like doing it so early was an issue because you knew there was a certain longevity there. Like he's not going to lose it immediately. And I think that's where you started to get into some of the stuff of like, all right, had he not won the title yet and you had him chasing pretty much the entire year, that to me is a more compelling story. You don't have to really change a lot of anything. He can still have the Orton match, right? Orton's in his path to get to the title. You can still have some of the other stuff like Punk makes sense. They're both aiming for the title. Like you can still do all this stuff, but we just got to a John Cena that just felt like a complete character. You know, belt shots and nut shots and all like, oh my gosh. The more I talk about it, my grade's going down. Like even with this good part at the end, I'm like, my grade's going down. I don't know. So
I do think like to put a bow on the bad, you know, like I had said before, I think it was smart to just recognize that and pull the plug and go a different way. And yeah, because nothing that you would do there, would make sense. Like you can't. There's nothing that you could have done that would make sense. And they needed to get it into a different place, and they did. And that's when I think they really started to cook with gas with the retirement tour. I mean, people just wanted to cheer him and celebrate him and all that. Mm-hmm. What's ironic about that is, if you've watched John Cena's career from, you know, 2002 until, you know, really most recently, he is a guy that's never been fully cheered by the WWE audience. He's never been, I mean, I guess maybe early on, maybe Dr. Thugonomics, like early in his tenure, he was kind of embraced by everybody, which is why, you know, he got the green light and was, you know, pushed as the top guy. But after that, you know, there was a large portion of the audience that pushed back on his push, and there was a large portion of the audience that loved it. And he's a really unique character in WWE in that regard, because he's also the character that kind of brought WWE out of, you know, Benoit and his thing, and Eddie dying of, you know, and the you know, a lot of the drug deaths that you saw at that time. And like Cena was kind of like the face of the company to kind of pull the company out and away from that.
Yep.
And I think with that, with like the success of him in that role came but this guy's lame. Like, yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, he's lame. He's too lame. He's too perfect. He's too, just John Cena. And I think that rubs people the wrong way. So to come full circle here and have everybody like on his side as he walks out the door, it's almost like it's almost, poetic in that they've been working for that for decades. And now with a week to go, man, Blake, they got it.
Yes. All it took was just a few screw ups here or there, and hey, we finally got to where we needed to be. But no, and that's the thing. Like, I hate feeling like I'm like being overly negative, but I think it's warranted, and that's where, there is such a divide. It's so easy for WWE in this era of TKO just to, basically shield themselves from any criticism because of how much they can always use the look how much money we're making excuse, which is understandable. I mean, they're a business, but
sure,
it doesn't mean that, everyone out there is just going to buy into your theory that everything's the best thing ever. And right. I think, again, many people I feel like will look back on this and feel like there was a significant portion of this that felt like a big missed opportunity. But at the same time, you can recognize that eventually they got it right. And hopefully that means on Saturday they get it right with how they do this. So
where is Cena in your eyes as far as like we're by the end of the show, we're gonna like each throw our answer out there of is he really the WWE GOAT or not? We don't want to give it away quite yet.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna talk about it all first. But GOATness aside, like, I mean, is he like a top 5 important star that the company has had? Like, I mean, how high up do you put him on your pedestal without giving away your GOAT answer yet? But where is he in the echelon of like important WWE stars?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got to be up there in the top 5. And I think the answer is where you start to look at the longevity of it all to me. And I think he's going to win over all of his other counterparts in terms of like the longevity of the run. Now you can say, well, it came in an era where not as many people are watching, but I think that also is important because, if he's not there and you swing and miss on someone else, like then what happens, right? It's not that we've ever thought WWE is in danger of going out of business or anything in this era, at least, right? But I think that to me gives him a big boost. And to me, I always look back at him like the one thing people knock Cena about, or used to knock Cena about, I think he's evolved, but, was the in-ring ability.
Right.
But I'm going to be honest with you. Like, there's a lot of people in the GOAT conversation that I don't think have that either. In terms of like just absolute surefire, great in-ring ability. And this is where, let's say if we were doing this for AEW 30 years down the road, that would hold a lot of weight. But I think in WWE, it doesn't have to hold as much weight. I just don't see it that way because, look, and this is where you have to start comparing. If I'm comparing John Cena to Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, I mean, listen, if my personal viewing habits, I would rank Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, then John Cena, right? But if I'm thinking about this from the idea of a GOAT conversation and the overall impact on the WWE business, I know how much of an impact Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart have had on other wrestlers, right? And that makes a difference too. But if you think about the impact Cena has had on the business aspect, look at the significant difference, I still think, between even those two. And so that's where I think he starts to move up. Like, he keeps moving up ahead of people like that because as great as they were, take Triple H for an example. I mean, he easily has lapped Triple H, I think, in terms of like the in-ring historical importance. Like, maybe not even close. That's where I think, and again, we'll get to maybe our picks, but I think there is no list that can be made without Cena in the top 5 at the worst, because I just think that it's the longevity, the impact he's had financially, and even though, yes, there have been dips when he's been at the top, I still think it's kind of one of those things where, listen, WWE didn't get here to, having 1 million people watch every week or whatever, um, because of John Cena. He wasn't the reason all the WWE fans left. Like, there
Yeah,
were various reasons for that. It was a changing of the culture, a changing of the way we view things, and just, it wasn't what wrestling used to be. And I
yeah,
think, you mentioned Benoit earlier too. That ran off a lot of people.
it did.
I
It
mean,
really did.
the numbers tell us that. And so it was a very difficult time. And I think if you just look at the way the trajectory went after that, WWE went back to being a much more safe, hey, we are focused. And look, how can I not applaud that? I mean,
Well, they had
both
to.
from,
They had to.
yeah, they didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think yeah, I'll save my full analysis since we make our kind of pick at the end. But I think that he's had. I'm not going to say whether I'm calling him the GOAT right now, but I think he's had like a similar impact in a different way, but similarly as far as just like the impact on the company as Austin and as Hogan, like in different ways, but in a significant way. In his own like kind of John Cena way. So more on that in a little bit. We got Tracy's in the chat who says what Adam said, and Adam said he's full of shit. This is John Cena, and not having any say in his final run. Yeah, I agree with Tracy on that. What Adam said, absolutely. You mentioned it. There was a long while there where John Cena couldn't wrestle, or at least that's what fans told him in buildings all around the world. Obviously, I think that has been proven to be a myth. Even when you look back, yes, are you going to remember the Cena? I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, I don't remember the Cena Jericho matches too much. I don't remember the Cena Angle matches too much. I know they happened, but he wrestled so many people like over the 20 years. Like it's just an insane amount of people. It's impossible to remember anybody. That said, when I was writing the column for the Takedown on SI on his top 10 matches, it was not a hard project to do because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of really good John Cena matches out there that I don't know if they like just fall off because it's John Cena, but this was my top 10. This was my top 10 matches. It was Cena versus Umaga at the Royal Rumble, last man standing. That was number 10. Number 9 was Cena against RVD at One Night Stand in 2006. 8 was this John Cena Daniel Bryan match at SummerSlam in 2013. The match where Bryan wins, but then Triple H turns heel and they go with Randy Orton and yuck. Number 7 is something recently. John Cena against Cody Rhodes, the street fight, which should have been the WrestleMania match, but whatever. John Cena against Shawn Michaels on Raw, the hour-long plus match in 2007, April, right after the WrestleMania main event. John Cena against Edge, Unforgiven 2006 in the TLC, comes in at number 5. The Rock and Cena is WrestleMania 28. That's 4 for me. I think that's going to maybe furrow some eyebrows, but I can explain. Number 3, John Cena versus CM Punk on that episode of Raw. John Cena versus CM Punk, Money in the Bank 2011, number 2. And then John Cena against AJ Styles, Royal Rumble 2017. That's my number 1 match. Blake, you don't necessarily have to comment on all of these, although go ahead if you want. Is there anything that I missed or anything that stands out on this list and you're like, yes, that one is what a great match that is?
So the one match I know a lot of people have talked about this year that I simply look, it's been a decade, Zach. I can't remember what I ate for breakfast 2 days ago. The triple threat between Lesnar, Cena, and Rollins at the Royal Rumble. Was that the Royal Rumble in 2015?
Yeah.
I just have a gap where I just do not remember that match, and it's considered one of his best ever. But I have to go back and watch it because I just don't like. That is where I'm like, I don't remember much at all.
So I remember that match being like action packed. It's not on my list because habitually don't put triple threats on
Yeah,
these top matches.
it's hard.
Lists. It's hard for me to do that because
Yeah.
it's not like that match. Yeah, Cena was there and he had a lot to do with it, but really, like, it's kind of like Seth's coming out party, and it was kind of Brock Lesnar just destroying everybody, and so like it's hard to just put put that above any of these singles matches. I guess is where I'm at, but that is a hell of a match, no question.
Yeah, that's where, like, again, triple threat matches are hard for me to put on best of list. The only two that probably meet that criteria for me, my number one is still the same as it's been for 2 decades, and that's the Vengeance 2002, The Rock, The Undertaker, and Kurt Angle. I mean, that to me, there's nothing that's rivaled it. Of course, the WrestleMania 21 in the main event with Benoit, Triple H, and Shawn, like, that's tremendous. Of course, that one loses a little luster based on what happens afterwards, and I always have to factor that in, whether I want to or not. But like those are still the gold standard. I think you even argue the one this year with Rhea, Io, and Bianca has to be up there now. So that it's hard to put that in there. That's why, like, I would not have it on my list either, unless I just go back and I'm like, hey, I loved it. But the other ones you mentioned, I think what I always go back to, the stuff with Edge, I still think may have been the best thing that Cena ever did. And like, I know how great the other stuff is with Punk and all this other, but the Cena Edge stuff was just magic, it seemed like. And it was also one that kind of speaks to the legacy of John Cena, because it was at a time where everyone was so tired of seeing John Cena that they needed someone to come in and save the day, and it happened to be the heel Edge. And like, I just thought all the stuff they did during that time period was so fascinating, minus, of course, a certain celebration that happened on Raw between Edge and Lita. I wouldn't exactly throw that into the category. If we remove that, though, everything else, I thought just the rivalry they had in 2006, I thought it was excellent. But the one match, and you mentioned them kind of back to back, the two with Punk, for my money, I don't think there's ever going to be anything that could rival the Money in the Bank one from 2011. I just thought it was so well executed. And boy, this is like you're talking about going full circle here. The build was excellent. The actual match was excellent. The execution of the fallout was terrible. And it's just like, I felt like that was the story of a lot that Cena did, hey, we have this great place to get to, but after that, we don't know where we're going. And I thought it was such kind of a bungled mess, where we're getting Kevin Nash and Alberto Del Rio and Triple H all involved, and Punk's, like, again, it's more Punk based, but it obviously ties into Cena, because you think about, other than One Night Stand against RVD, I just cannot think of a setting for John Cena, even the one going to Toronto to face Edge. Like, there was nothing like this in Chicago. There was nothing like, the One Night Stand one against RVD. And I just thought, man, it was... I still think, we mentioned last week, I'm like, hey, I think the Mega Powers is like the best storyline WWE's ever done. I think you could certainly argue this whole path to get to where we got to this match, and just the initial post-match is also probably one of the best things they've ever done. You needed two people like Cena and Punk to get there, and you needed their stories to be what they were at the time. And you needed some frustration from the fans, and that's what you got, and it all came together. So for me, that's still number one on Cena's list. But man, how can you argue against the AJ Styles one? Even
that match,
one. Man,
I watched most of these in preparation to like write the article, and that match, they barely leave the ring in that match.
Yeah.
Like it's not like this big brawl thing. Like it looked like they went out of their way to be like, we're going to have an epic pro wrestling match and we're going to stay in the ring. And that's like what I appreciated most out of it by the end. I'm like, damn, like they just worked in the little, 20 by 20. Like that's it. It's a really cool match for that perspective. I want to comment on the Edge stuff, because I think Punk and Cena is going to get obviously a lot of highlights, because it's a great feud, and CM Punk is currently in WWE.
Right.
If Edge was in WWE, I think they'd be making as big of a deal, if not more, for for that program. The Unforgiven match in 2006, the TLC, like that is one of the first times where I was like, damn, like Cena, like, whew, he can wrestle pretty good. Like we're chanting stuff at him, but like that's a hell of a match. I mean, it's physical, it's intense, it's aggressive. You know, I just remember at the end, like Cena selling it as like, oh my God, I can't believe I went there. I can't believe I did this to another human. Like that was kind of the story of the end. And I just thought it's a really good showcase of like maybe why, you know, WWE thought they could go where they did with Cena, because that's just a really good match. Now he's working with Edge. I get it. But that's a significant moment in a significant matches in his career. And the other thing I would say is when I was putting this list together, when you look at this list, he's working Umaga, right? So he's in like the underdog kind of fighting babyface role. He's working RVD, right? At One Night Stand, completely different role in the match. He's the, you know, the corporate guy, right? The corporate guy who always wins and who people are pushing back against in a very, very strong way. Same thing at SummerSlam 2013, right? He's in the mix of all this Daniel Bryan hoopla with CM Punk working, you know, the anti WWE storyline, and he's kind of the bad guy in that. And then, you know, with AJ Styles, it's just like, okay, he's the kind of the veteran guy, and AJ Styles is the new guy, and he's coming in. And this is all very basic kind of analysis. But I say all that because his work in these 10 matches, like just these 10 alone, it's really diverse in terms of like style. Like he plays it all. And I think when he's asked to kind of go into harsh environments like ECW One Night Stand or work with the monster Umaga to like really get that match over, like he's habitually able to find his spot. And I just don't want to understate like how important that is. There's a lot of wrestlers out there that can't do that can't, you know, adapt to the situation that you're in, the environment that you're in, the crowd reaction that you're getting. It's not like a sure bet layup for every pro wrestler. And when you look up and down this list, all these matches, or a lot of them, are very, very different from the other. And I think that's an important thing to call out too.
Yeah, I agree. Like I think again, the evolution of the guy, you know, who was seen as the 5 moves of doom guy for the longest time, and then just to kind of see where it's at now. Like I just feel like again, like there was a very hard, fast ability even then when people were referring to him that way. Like the versatility of all the different roles he could play at any time. Like I think that's easily one of his strengths. So
yeah. So if you were going to name top 3,
oh boy,
I feel like we're in lockstep on 2 of them. You know, or at least I would put Edge and I'd put Punk. Mm-hmm. It's that third one that I think people will argue about. And that's the one I can't really land on. Like, you know, I mean, I feel like if I'm talking feuds, you know, maybe it'd be Brock because, but he's not on the top matches, right? Like, so it's where are you at on that third one? And feel free to, you know, obviously drop in your own top 2.
Yeah, I think it's such a tough decision because, like you said, I would probably, as much as I like the Edge stuff, I think I would go Punk 1, I'd go Edge 2, and then I think it comes down to, that's the thing, is like he was just so spread out in terms of the different guys that he could work with. I almost wonder,
Shawn Michaels and Seth Rollins, like that's crazy.
Yeah, I think, and that's the thing is like, I think I would have to put Styles at 3 because I feel like at this point, if you take the full body of work, everything he did with Styles, I feel like hit. And I don't know if you could say the same about some of the others, and not say they were bad. Like again, the Shawn stuff was probably, for most people, is probably going to rank at 3 maybe. But I look at everything he did with Styles, and I think about the period of time in which he did it, like 2016 on.
Yeah.
And I just think, man, that also speaks to why he is considered the GOAT, is because that came a decade, you know, if I came 14 years after his debut, it comes kind of a decade after he's on top. And So I'd probably go Styles at 3. Yeah.
I think it's a good call. It's weird. I kind of like forgot about him, but they had a lot of matches together. You know, they had
Yeah.
three pay-per-view matches together. And
Yeah.
then the one this year. That's not even counting the one this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's works. I mean, there's other like notable names that I would throw out there. Like it's hard to forget that the Kevin Owens stuff. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that was a really good
Yeah.
feud at the time.
Yeah.
He's had good matches with Sami Zayn, you know, Shawn. I mean, even like Triple H, like he's had some decent stuff with him. I mean, I wouldn't put it on this list necessarily, but it's not stuff to completely overlook. Kurt Angle, he had a lot. He worked with him a lot. I mean, it's just a who's who
Mm-hmm.
of opponents and feuds as far as that goes. If you're in the chat right now, I'm curious. Just drop in like your John Cena match, your favorite John Cena match, or just it doesn't have to be your favorite one, but just one that you enjoy or like that maybe we missed, or maybe we didn't, but put it in there. I want to just take a quick unofficial poll here of what you guys think is his best match. What about John Cena? Just the guy. Like sometimes when I'm watching John Cena, I'm like, the character that he's playing out there is this just authentic guy, and that's the character he's playing. But I think of it as like that is a character. Like I don't know that in real life he really is all like John Boy, you know, that he seems to be. Like I watch all these interviews trying to soak in, you know, his last week, and it's just like he says a lot, but also says nothing at this, you know, like he says a lot of words, but it's like, okay, but and then what? Like, and then what?
Yeah.
Like, you know, who cares? Like for example, the question that Van Vliet asked him about, like, hey, what was supposed to happen with the whole Rock thing? He's like, who cares? It's like, well, lots of people. That's why you're asked. And so it's just like there's an element to him where it's, you know, maybe that's just brilliant pro wrestling character work, right? Like that's the guy who he wants you to think he is. And to that end, I think he's done that job pretty effectively. At the same time, and on the flip side, I don't know that anyone's really like met the real John Cena. Like it seems like whenever I hear him talk, it's, well, there's the John Cena billboard again. And I don't say that with disrespect. I just say that as just someone who's observed literally his entire career.
And that's why I think you can absolutely make the argument that he is the WWE greatest of all time, because that describes WWE to me.
Yeah.
Like he is the ultimate like synonym for WWE. Like it's the same. Like he is only going to give you what he wants to give you. He will be able to say it in a way that is going to make you listen. You know, and there are, like, again, WWE is seen as the big bad wolf, you know, for many years, but like there also are those elements that you're like, how can you not love the guy, right? And so I think like that's why like he is the ultimate product of WWE. Like he, you know, he really whether it's he is like, and I think you could say that more so than Hogan, than Austin, than Rock, than any of those guys. He would be at the top of that list in terms of like, John Cena is the ultimate WWE creation. And I feel like that is one of the best ways to describe him. Some people may take that as a good thing. Some people may take that as a bad thing. But, like, that's who he is. And, you know, you can tell, like, all the media training and all that over the years. Like, any of the answers he gives right now doesn't even flinch because he is, like, he's as a well-oiled machine as it gets when it comes to, again, telling you exactly what he thinks is important and then not necessarily having to address the other stuff. But he's, I think, more open to addressing some of that stuff than WWE would be in certain scenarios.
Sure.
And again, I don't say that as a bad thing. I don't. I don't look at it as though that's a knock on John Cena. I think it just proves that he is someone that has became the face of a brand for so many years and one of the, you know, biggest companies in the world. Like, it's just, that is who he became because he was forced to be the face of this entire thing for so many years. And you know, you can go watch Total Divas too and see how different like he's portrayed on that, right? You know what I mean? Like it's just, there are many different elements to this. And I feel like he is someone though, and I will always go back to this. You can say anything you want about John Cena. The one thing you will never convince me is that any of the stuff he's ever done with Make-A-Wish was done for any other reason than to actually, out of the goodness of his heart, help kids and that's the thing. Like, WWE eventually used this because, well, it was good PR and all this, but how many times have we heard and seen, like, Cena never wanted this stuff to be a public thing. He never wanted this to be anything that was used to, like, basically take advantage of the situation or get anything from it, right? And that is the one thing I'll always say about John Cena. You can knock this guy for anything. We can say, all right, maybe WWE created him and he's just like a cyborg or something, but there is nothing I think I could ever push back on when it comes to that kind of stuff, because to me, that tells me way more about John Cena than anything else. And so that'll always be at the top of the list for me.
You got to call that out. I mean, because it's most ever, right? I think it's the
most ever by anyone.
By a wide margin too. Like it's not, I don't even think it's particularly close. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but that's a really, really impressive thing. I mean, and it's so funny when you say Cena is like the prototypical, he's the greatest WWE creation of all time. And the thing is, it's so true. I mean, it really is from the ground up. I mean, he was an OVW guy that, goes to the main roster, finds this little rap niche thing, and then they eventually ditch that, and he, is just John Cena, like, and that's who he is. And it is fascinating. And, the story of him is fascinating too, when you look back, because I think that WWE, when he was getting booed, as a lead babyface, their whole thing was, well, people are reacting, so that's good. And like, okay, that's true. And it's better than no reaction. But I think they tried to apply that to other talents along the way. Like, there was a time where Randy Orton was a babyface getting booed. There was a time where obviously Roman Reigns, babyface, who getting just booed. None of those other acts were able to swing it like John Cena was able to. Yeah. Like, he was like a one of a kind in that regard. And maybe it's just because he was the first through the wall, the first real top babyface that Vince continued pushing as one just because he wanted to. But it didn't really work with Roman. It didn't work with Randy. It didn't work with Batista. Like, all those other guys are obviously tip-top guys, and they landed in a good spot with Roman. But Cena's the only one that was really able to make that 50-50, let's go Cena sucks dynamic really, really work. And it's kind of like a signature part of his run, if not the signature part of his run, is that he kind of just was in the middle the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, that describes it to a T. Like, he just, I don't know, like there are just so many facets, and that's why, again, he can easily be up there. There's so many facets of this guy. And I mean, you think about, again, the longevity. To me, that's the biggest thing. It's just the longevity of being able to stay at a certain level. He never became mid-card Cena. Like, again, even when he has the United States title, right? Like, it's all of a sudden it elevates to make it feel like it's the biggest thing on the show. And that's just because the aura that he brought to the table. So,
yeah. So, Blake, it's that time. It's that time. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first? Is John Cena really the WWE GOAT?
Okay. I will say no. That's my easy answer, I feel like. I know it's not the popular choice, but I still, for me, my answer has never really changed, and I still think it's Hogan. And the reason I say that is because of the way he sort of changed the entire dynamic of what professional wrestling was, the way he was able to take Hulkamania not just once, but twice, and sort of change so many elements of WWE. And then, like, we cannot forget that he did it on the other side of things too, and was the top guy in WCW as a completely different character. And while I know people point out, like, the initial Hulkamania, like, the longevity was it's comparable to Austin, which to me, it's between those two. I think that's really what it comes down to. I love the idea of Cena being there, but he would be third on my list behind those two. Um, I'm still going to always give Hogan the nod because I think of all the different times what he did to bring in that initial burst and to basically how that character paved the way for something different, which Vince McMahon had a hand in. Don't get me wrong, but I still think his stardom is on a level of no one else, and I mean that even for Austin and Cena and Rock in a different way because we're more talking Hollywood type stuff.
Yeah.
I just I've stuck with Hogan, and I don't think that's going to change, honestly. So
My answer is he really the GOAT in WWE? It's also no. It's close, but
yeah,
no. And I think the reason why I say it's close is because of the longevity factor. I mean, he was a top guy, the top guy in that company for almost 2 decades. Like, there's nobody else. Hogan, Austin, like Flair, like
yeah,
nobody in the history of the business had that kind of longevity at the tip top of the biggest pro wrestling company in the world. I mean, he's a freak of nature physically, just being able to have done that, like all the days on the road and all the matches.
yeah.
I mean, there's no that's why I think there's an argument to be made that okay, maybe he is.
No.
But I'm with you. It's got to be Hogan, and then it's got to be Austin, because when you just if you watched it all, and I don't know that I can necessarily point to like figures or attendance or like Cena could if he was like making this argument for himself or Vince was making an argument for him as the greatest of all time, you could say like, well, without Cena, like our image doesn't get repaired and we don't become friendly to advertisers, and these $1 billion TV deals that we get now, we don't get those. Yes, you can go down that path. But if you watched it and you watched Hogan and you watched Austin and you watched Cena's everything is just a little bit less. Like it just is. It's just the pops are a little bit less. The houses are a little bit less. The storylines aren't as, flashy and crazy. It's just, I think the aura around Austin and Hogan is just a notch above John Cena. So, and I think when you're talking GOAT, that counts for as much, if not more, than longevity does. So that's kind of why, like, I can't even necessarily pinpoint one data point or one thing. It's just like, if you saw it, you just know that he wasn't on. He was very good, really good, top guy, premier guy, but just not on the level of those two. And I think it's fair.
To me, it's their highs were always higher.
Yes.
In any head-to-head, if you did a tournament and you just say, all right, we're going to do a 16 like high tournament where you combine, you take 3 different people, you combine all their highs together and you did a tournament. Their highs are always going to win out over his highs. And I just think it's simple as that. Like, it's
well said. That is like
I think that's it.
The show right there. It's well said.
That's it.
Well said. I mean, because it's so true. It's so true. He had a lot more high-ish moments, but not as many like peak moments. And so, I guess depending on how you grade that, like, or what value you put into longevity will kind of determine your final answer on this. But yeah, he's up there, but not the GOAT. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I've been looking forward to doing this show all week because I was like, at some point, like, we just got to crack the mic and start talking about John Cena. Obviously, we could talk, Blake, probably for another 2 hours about him. But, but thanks, man. Appreciate it. John Cena's retiring and the retirement show is in the can. It's crazy.
Hey, we got predictions coming up too, folks. Takedown on SI. We're going to make our predictions for Saturday night's main event. We think John Cena is going to go out on top. You'll have to find out here soon on the channel.
Thank you so much to everybody who joined us. Thanks to Tracy and Adam and everybody else in the live chat. Appreciate it. If you're watching the video and you haven't liked it yet, hit that thumbs up button for us. It helps us get in front of new eyes. We're here every week with Pro Wrestling Weekly right here in the Takedown on SI, 12 Eastern. So subscribe to the channel. We'll be talking next week a lot about how did the John Cena retirement show go, and we'll definitely get back to regular cadence of news chatter, AEW, and everything in between. So thank you guys so much. Another great week. Enjoy Cena's retirement. We'll talk to you real soon. See ya.